Ever since I have been in this office, when people ask me, what's my biggest fear for the future of Wisconsin, I say that it's the growing number of people that are trapped in generational poverty and dependence on government, generation after generation. And the one chance that we have of breaking that cycle is education. I still believe we are the land of opportunity. I think a kid in the United States has a greater chance of succeeding than in any other country in the world if they work hard and they have talent. But if they don't get an education, that door is closed to them. And if they can't read, they're not going to get a good education. The odds are very slim. We went off the tracks in how we teach reading in the 1980s when we went to the balanced literacy approach. The 3Qing system, which is pretty much banned in this bill, has been brought up a couple times by the other side because it was so ingrained in people that have been taught over the past several decades that this is the way you teach kids to read. But it's disproven. It is wrong. DPI knows it's wrong. Governor Evers knows it's wrong. Lucy Calkin, who was the goddess of teaching this and made tons of money on her curricula, she says she was now wrong and she failed kids. So we cannot have that in here. We can look at the statistics of the crisis that we're facing in Wisconsin. 64% of our kids are not proficient in reading. Since 1990, we have fallen from 6th place in reading to 27th. Our African American students during that period of time fell 31 places, and they are now dead last. We have the biggest racial gap in both 3rd and 8th grade. Our Hispanic students, they fell from 1st to 28th. There are other states that have made these changes similar to this. There are about 30 states now that are going in this direction, and they're seeing great strides. The Mississippi Miracle is sort of the poster child for that, and they're not perfect by any means, but you're talking about the poorest state. We're like 38th poorest. They have the highest percentage of African American students, and for a variety of reasons, African American students do struggle more in reading, and we need to address that. We have 6%. So they have all these things going against their reading scores, and yet they're now tied with us. That's pathetic, we can't continue in that direction. But beyond the statistics, when you hear the personal stories, and particularly in the Senate hearing that we had, there were several parents that came in and told their stories of their kids that they were in elementary school. They went to the teacher and said, gee, I don't think my kid is reading like they should be. And it's like, oh, just go home and read to them some more. It'll all be fine. Then they get to 4th grade and they take the test and they can't read. And then these parents that testified, luckily they had enough means, although some of them honestly had to take out second mortgages on their homes, that they were able to get private tutors. And within a very short period of time, learning the science of reading, they were able to catch those kids back up. But our kids in poverty, they don't have those opportunities. They're not going to get those private tutors. And they really suffer. I'm going to read you a quote from a teacher that sent me an email. I want to say before I say that, when I was listening to those parents, honest to God, I was embarrassed. I kept having to wipe tears out of my eyes because it is so sad what we have done, that we have failed these children. And anyway, here's a quote from an email I got from a teacher that's near the end of her career. She says, I think back to the years that I was in the classroom and all the children that I left behind just because I was not taught evidence-based literacy practices in college. If balanced literacy meets the needs of 40% of the students in a classroom, I failed over 1,000 students in my 27 years of teaching. If I'd been using a structured literacy approach based on the science of reading, 90 to 95% of my students would have been reading at grade level. We are failing, and this is an opportunity to change that. When I came, the last couple of sessions, I began working on literacy. And to be honest, DPI and the governor were not very cooperative. They vetoed my bill last time. So when I came into this session this time, I thought, I'm not interested in putting out a political bill. I could do that. I could put one out and have Governor Evers veto it, and we'd score political points because, frankly, he got beaten up over literacy in the last election. But I'm not going to do that. I know we don't make a habit of it, but once in a while around here, we just have to do the right thing. So, before I did anything, I went to DPI and I said, well, what do you guys think? Are you interested in moving something forward? And in the meantime, the governor had put together a task force on literacy, and they came back and said, we have to go to the science of reading. So all of a sudden, DPI was all on board. I met with them, I met with the governor, and the governor told me, negotiate with DPI on my behalf. You know, this is really important and we have to get it done. So that's what I've done. Now, I know there are people on the other side who are upset that I didn't work with all of them. I will tell you, first off, this is the most important thing I've ever worked on, but it's also the most difficult. Trying to get everybody on the same page in our caucus and negotiating with DPI has been extremely difficult. If I had tried to include more people into it, I wouldn't be here today. It would not happen. We didn't nail down the final little piece of that until this morning with DPI and with my co-authors. State Superintendent Underly now says that as soon as we pass this today, she will put out a press release supporting what we're doing. This is really, really important legislation. And it's based on a lot of what has been successful in other states. This is not something that was rushed through, thrown together, that needs more time. More time kills this bill. We really need to get it done. It would have been so much easier just to do a partisan bill. But I've done what we're supposed to do, and I've worked with DPI, and I grant you, I didn't work with everybody over there, and I understand that. But I hope you'll look past that and do the right thing here. I mean, I can't imagine how you're going to go home, for many of you, and explain why you voted against this bill that is going to do so much good. It's going to become law, and it's going to do so much good for the students of our state. I would not want to be on the side that disagreed with that. So I guess I will leave it at that. I do want to thank my co-authors. They were tremendously important in getting this done today. And like I said, just do the right thing. This is an easy green vote.